Hello everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. I'm super excited to be back on ThermOWeb's YouTube channel today. I have a couple of cards to share with you that combine Whimsy Stamp products and ThermOWeb products, and I'm using both the Glitter Glitz Gels from ThermOWeb on top of the flock transfer sheets, which is one of my favorite techniques. So I am starting with some Rina Electro-Pop Neon Flock. Whenever I use stencils, I use my pixie spray on the back. I like to spray it on the back of the stencil over my waffle flower water media mat, so some of it gets on the mat and then that holds the flock or whatever paper you're using in place, and then the spray on the back of the stencil holds the stencil in place. So this way nothing moves around. Now I'm using the Rina Electro-Pop Hello Yellow Neon Yellow, and I like to stir mine up just to get it nice and smooth before I apply it to the stencil pal, which is how I'm going to apply it to the stencil. So I add a little bit of the glitz to the flat edge of the stencil pal, and once that's ready, I then at an angle pull it down across the stencil. And the great thing about the stencil pal is that you get a nice, even, consistent coverage. And then check this out, you guys. That flock already has so much texture, and then you're adding the glitz on top, which adds glitter and shine and even more texture and dimension. I had enough of the pixie spray on the back of this stencil so that I could do it again. So this time I'm using the Iridescent Glitter Glitz Gel. That's the Gina Iridescent. So same type of deal. I'm just going to use my palette knife to stir it up, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then put a nice amount on the edge of my stencil pal and then pull that down over the stencil. And I love the Iridescent because it's not white. It's definitely a like glittery, just beautiful effect that looks great on top of the flock. So that looks white, but when it dries, you see more of the flock color underneath. I'm going to do it one more time on some neon, that hello yellow neon flock. So, and this time I'm going to use the iridescent as well again. I figured I had some left on the stencil pal there, might as well do another background. I like to do several backgrounds all at once so that I can then make several cards. Once this is dry, and depending on how thick you apply the glitz, it doesn't take quite that long. So once it's dry, I am going to cut this one down to about 4 by 5.25, and I'm going to use some Memory Runner XL to adhere it down to some coordinating cardstock. This way you can see the cardstock color on the edge there. I am cut out a couple of letters from the double-sided foam adhesive from ThermOWeb, and I peeled off the back protective layers and I'm laying them on a die cut circle of cardstock that I cut with a ThermOWeb die. So now I'm peeling off those top protective layers because it's double-sided foam, and then I'm going to lay some silver foil onto the open adhesive, and I'm going to have the foil color facing me. It's hard to tell with silver because both sides are silver, but one side is matte and one side is shiny. So you're going to put the matte side down and the shiny side facing you. I did cut the edge of that circle so that I could have it flush to the edge of the glitz flock panel there. And then I'm going to use some Ultra Bond to adhere this circle down to the flock. So that flock and glitz can be difficult to adhere things to, so I definitely recommend a strong liquid adhesive like the Ultra Bond. And then I'm just holding this in place because I want to make sure that it starts to have that dry time and get tacky before I move on to the next step. So once that's done, and I love the way that that foil shines with the glitz in the background, I'm going to move on to the other card. So I am die cutting 3 circles out of our yellow flock with the iridescent glitz, and I'm going to die cut those 3 out, and then I'm going to put some Memory Runner XL behind them, and I have a 4.25 by 5.5 inch piece of white cardstock, and I'm adhering the circles to the edges of this paper, and they are hanging off quite a bit because I'm going to flip these over and I'm going to trim off the excess, but I'm not going to get rid of them because I want more circles around my background. So I'm just going to cut around the corner here. I'm trying to leave as much as I can of that circle so that I have plenty more flock with the glitz on it to work with to create a really fun and bright background. Next, I'm going to put that background in my mini Misty, and I'm going to use the Rina K Designs for ThermOWeb Electro-Pop inks, and I'm going to stamp one of the sentiments and then one of the pops from the Sweet Stuff stamp set. And I love those pops because they can be layered with two different colors. So I'm lining up the second layer on the stamped first layer, and I'm going to stamp that second layer in a different color. And I love the way that these look. They are so pretty, and the neon is so much fun and perfect for a summery card like this. Next, I'm going to line up the coordinating dies on top of the stamped images, and I'm going to hold them down with some ThermOWeb purple tape, just temporarily adhere them down so that I can run them through my Gemini Junior with the purple tape and keep them in place, because you can see that they really need to be lined up the right way. Once that's done, I'm going to grab a Copic marker. I think I grabbed khaki, I'm not sure. And I'm just going to draw some popsicle sticks. You could color these in or you could stamp them. I just decided it was just as quick and easy for me to color them in with a Copic marker, and I really like the way that they ended up looking that way. Next, I'm going to use some Gina K foam adhesive to pop these popsicles up in the middle of the card there. And so I will just trim those down with some nonstick scissors and then adhere them down to my card panel. All that's left to do is embellish with some clear dots. And these cards came together really quickly for me because I created all the backgrounds at once, let them dry, and then just die cut and had fun embellishing and decorating them with sentiments. So I will have all the supplies that I used for this video down in the YouTube description below. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. Have a wonderful day.